5 days left of the Atlantic 10 regular season. So excited to be in Northern Virginia tonight. Eagle Bank Arena is the site of our broadcast where George Mason on senior night, all set to play host to VCU in the second meeting between the two schools this year. A look at the Atlantic 10 standings. VCU seeking an outright title for the first time since it joined the league. George Mason still alive for a double bye and a top 4 seed. Welcome you courtside, everybody, with what's inside 2 weeks to Selection Sunday. Matt Martucci, the former LaSalle head coach, Dr. John Giannini. VCU already firmly into the NCAA tournament from what we're told, but now trying to do something, Coach, they've never done before as a member of the Atlantic 10.
Well, VCU has more wins in the A-10 than any other team since they joined the conference, but they've never won an outright championship. It just goes to show how hard that is to accomplish. They're trying to make school history with a win against George Mason today.
A change in culture in Mike Rhodes' second year for the Rams. One of the big reasons behind that, the addition of Marcus Evans, Coach.
No, Marcus Evans is a favorite for A-10 Player of the Year. He leads, he defends, he distributes, he scores, he does it all. For George Mason, they look to Justin Kier for their leadership. He's their top rebounder and scorer. Heading into the last week of the regular season, you expect your best players to play their best. That's what both teams are looking for from Evans and Kier today.
Patriots especially need a big game from Kier. Has struggled in his career against VCU. They need him to be there tonight. 15 turnovers in the first meeting for George Mason. How do they pull an upset tonight, Coach?
VCU's defense is nationally elite. I'm excited to watch it. So the key end of the floor for George Mason is the offensive end. If they can function, not turn it over and score against VCU's havoc pressure defense, they'll have a chance to win.
Second to last regular season game for both of these teams. VCU trying to wrap up the regular season title tonight. George Mason hoping for an upset on senior night for Otis Livingston and the Patriots. It's coming up. We're all fired up. Atlantic 10 basketball on Stadium. Well, it's a great atmosphere tonight at Eagle Bank Arena here in Fairfax. Senior night for Otis Livingston and several other members of the Patriots. And they have a tough task on their hands, trying to take out Mike Rhodes and the VCU Rams. Seeking what's an outright regular season Atlantic 10 title for the first time since joining the conference. Their starting lineup this evening: Marcus Santos Silva having quite the year as a sophomore, the one to watch in addition to Marcus Evans. And we talked about Justin Kier in our open for George Mason. Otis Livingston in his last game here at Eagle Bank Arena, over 1,800 career points. And trying to make this one to remember. It's Mason coming out in the white. And VCU with the black. Good officiating crew tonight. Earl Walton is the crew chief, along with A.J. Desai and Justin Porterfield. And it looks like we're all ready to go. Officials were having a tough time hearing. That tells you what we're dealing with. Jordan Miller to jump it up for Mason. Santos Silva for VCU. And let's have at it.
I'm excited about this Evans-Livingston matchup. I think that's really going to be key here. They're going head-to-head.
VCU off of what was a slim win on the road in the rivalry game against Richmond. Mason off a loss at SLU. Mobley fighting his way in. And one and done. Javon Green with the rebound for Mason. Reuter is one to pay attention to for the Patriots tonight. Was perfect from the field the first time these two met a month ago exactly. Shot clock down to 10. Livingston drawing in the double. They had Reuter and missed him. Kier on the rise up.
This is part of George Mason's game plan. They want to score early in the shot clock, attack them, and if they don't score early, they want to make VCU work score late in the shot clock. That was textbook for their game plan.
And Dave Paulson said, want to try and grind out those possessions. An air ball for Santos Silva. Mobley fighting the glass and able to keep it alive. Out of bounds. Last touch by Jordan Miller. Fourth season for Dave Paulson. From Division III at Williams College to Bucknell, all the way here to Fairfax. His team started off at 7-1, but only 3-5 since down the stretch. Try to rectify that. VCU shot clock inside 5. Santos Silva. Evans has to be the bailout guy, and a shot clock violation.
Yeah, George, it's awfully early on, but the first couple possessions could not have gone better for George Mason. Working the shot clock, controlling tempo, making VCU work on the other end. Well, this is interesting, having Livingston off the ball. They think by having Livingston off the ball, he'll have more space to score.
That's exactly what they want to do, though, John. Force the ball to the middle.
Yeah, they're elite defensively. And
offensive glass for Santos Silva, who got held by Reuter.
Yeah, they force turnovers at one of the best rates in the country, 8th in the country at turnover percentage. They want to have Kyer bring it up the court some, but he didn't prove that trustworthy on the very first possession. They want to move Livingston off the ball a little bit, take some of the pressure off of him.
Here's a point of emphasis. Jared Reuter, who's been subject to spells of fatigue, has to sit down for Clinched. Evans off the inbounds. And VCU still cold to start. Cold in the form of what's now 0 for its first 6.
So on this press break, George Mason wants to try to keep the ball in the middle of the court. Watch Livingston not pick a side so that if the double team comes, he could throw the ball anywhere on the court, not get trapped on the sideline.
Two minutes in, Kyer with the only bucket for Mason. Clinched and Livingston, Kyer and Miller, along with Javon Green. Try to grind out the possession. Van a steal, Kyer the foul.
We mentioned the offensive end is critical for Mason. They have back-to-back turnovers on possessions. VCU lives off this, and they'll trap anywhere on the court, but they especially like to trap on the baseline if you drive there.
And Van certainly adept. That was his 34th steal. Jenkins, who's been better at the defensive end, that part was never a problem.
He's a terrific player right now. Very committed on the defensive end. Much improved this year. And at 6'6", looks like he's 6'8". He can finish over almost anyone.
Catch and shoot on the setup. One and done for Green. Make it Miller. He's been a mainstay in the starting lineup since the injury to Gonar Marr. And a big theme for the Patriots this year of lost both Jair Grayer and Marr. Mobley, wheeling, separation.
VCU switching ball screens when Mobley's involved because he's more of a shooter than a post-up guy, but they saw him on Livingston, saw the mismatch, and took advantage of it.
First bucket for the guy that Mike Rhodes calls the connector of their team. And there he is trying to anticipate the pass. And a foul on the sophomore from Cocoa Beach, Florida.
So they see the matchup now, the switch. Livingston's on Mobley. They just recognize it. And it's 6'8" against 6 foot. And Mobley does what he should do.
So Mobley picks up the first. So far, Mason doing what it planned. Excellent look for Kyer to Miller. And blocked out of bounds. The anticipation, though, from Evans.
The interesting thing is VCU's recoveries. He was wide open. We saw Mobley get in position to deflect that ball out of bounds. If you're open, it's only for a fraction of a second against VCU. They're recovering.
Nice entry to Clinched. And another foul on the Rams.
You see someone's wide open. Well, there's the post play, and I thought that was going to be the previous play, but that's going inside to Clinched. George Mason wants to go inside because it's the one place VCU tends not to double team.
And this always an adventure for Greg Clinched, who actually had hit his last 4 free throws coming in, but only 50% in conference games, 41% on the year.
Yeah, he's a good post defender. He can score inside, but the free throws are an adventure. I think they'll take that 1 for 2.
And they've always said they track him in practice. He's a lot better. Unfortunately, those don't count, Coach.
Let's continue to watch the free throws, though, because both these teams rely on this. If one of the teams has an advantage at the free throw line today, that's going to be huge in the game.
And each of them get a fifth of their points from the charity stripe. Santos Silva, good footwork, but missed the jump hook. VCU still by one. Jamal Hartwell, the Atlantic 10's leader in three-point percentage in conference games, newly in for Mason. Green, not bashful himself. Made one and done trip. Wanted Jenkins on the secondary break. Contact to the foul on Javon Green. Already 4 minutes into this one. And plenty of pace, just not a whole lot of made shots. Rams with the early 1-point edge here at Fairfax. You can have exclusive access to the best matchup stories and features when you subscribe to Stadium Plus. Get a front row seat for 500 premium events, including college football, basketball, and baseball. Go to watchstadium.com/stadium-plus or just Google Stadium Plus. Click on the link to learn how to subscribe. Matt Martucci, Dr. John Giannini, and George Mason at VCU. And the Patriots breaking the pressure early on.
Keeping the ball in the middle of the court is paramount. We've been able to win when I was at LaSalle a couple road games against nationally ranked teams at VCU by not turning it over. If you keep the ball in the middle of the court, bringing it up, now you could pass the ball right, left. If you get caught on the sideline, you can only go middle. They rotate, they kill you. George Mason's worked on keeping the ball in the middle. So far, so good, with the exception of Kyer's one turnover.
Rams trying to get their offense going. Have already missed 7 shot attempts. Do have 4 offensive rebounds. Evans with the shot clock almost cut in half. Jenkins. Miller, which is his forte. Jekyll and Hyde in terms of wins and losses. As far as how the Patriots take care of the basketball.
Yeah, 15's the magic number. They're only 1-9 if they turn it over 15 times or more. So let's keep an eye on that 15 number in terms of turnovers.
Felix takes a tumble after being fouled by Santos Silva.
Fouls are huge in this game because VCU is going to be very aggressive. If they don't get some fouls, they're just going to become more aggressive. And again, both these teams depend on going to the line. So total fouls, getting to the line, critical for both teams. The more fouls on VCU, the better Mason's chances are at the end of the 40 minutes.
Corey Douglas, who's one of their rim protectors, newly in for VCU. And the pick and roll for Clinched.
I like the dribble handoff against VCU better than the pick and roll. They trap the pick and roll, defend it great, but that handoff, they struggle with a little more.
Miller able to take it away.
See right there, they defend the pick and roll, and they trap the baseline. Watch out.
Good step up there for Douglas. Hartwell, top three-point shooter in conference games. And what's 50%? Just not that time. Bounce game for Jenkins, but shuffled his feet. Third VCU turnover.
Hartwell's emergence has really been key for George Mason. Averaged 15 a game in their 2 games last week, and he played sparingly early on. People who have coached against him say he has great speed. The coaches say he's a terrific shooter. They think he's the heir apparent to Livingston after his graduation. That's saying a lot because Livingston is one of the all-time George Mason greats. They're really high on Hartwell.
And I said to Dave Paulson, where'd he come from? He said, well, he was starting to emerge right before the first VCU game. Just ended up getting hurt.
He didn't play in the last VCU game, which they thought was a big factor in the game. In fact, they said Kyer got in foul trouble. They didn't have Hartwell, so they really only had Livingston as a ball handler against the Havoc pressure. Today they have all 3 ball handlers available, and it should help them.
Both teams have now turned it over 3 times after Kyer ends up with the travel. Mason by 1, but not a pretty offensive game on either side. 2 teams that combined 4 for 16. Evans, though, knows what to do and draws the contact. And that should be on Reuter, which is his second.
The coaches at VCU gave Evans a great compliment. They said some players can read a play, others can make them. He can do both. He can see what needs to be done and actually accomplish it. He saw Reuter hedging the ball screen, knew he could draw the foul.
This is Van's game. Douglas trying to hit the offensive glass. Second chance for Williams. Off the bench with a bucket.
So you look at Williams, you see a younger version of Jenkins and Van, the prototypical VCU long, athletic, skilled wing. They definitely know what they're looking for in recruiting. Balls in the middle of the court, easy pass because of that.
And they think he could be a future All-A-10 selection, Vince Williams. Livingston on senior night, still yet to get going, and out of bounds over to the Rams.
When you drive, Wilson comes to block the shot, which leaves the offensive rebounders open. Douglas not only can play outside, Williams not only outside but inside, showing his versatility.
Evans using the ball screen from Douglas. And the former Rice Owl unable to convert. Just about 7.5 in. Hartwell can't shoot. And 0 for 2 from the perimeter.
Both of them were hotly contested.
And Boyd pausing that. No numbers. And Hartwell still a goose egg. Douglas the wheel and the bat out by Williams. Only one starter on the floor for VCU. Mike Rhodes calls his bench his army. Everybody contributes.
Their depth is one of the biggest keys to their success. It allows them to keep playing hard.
Sims got the extra pass. Douglas, the offensive glass, count it, plus the foul. What's now 4 bench points for the Rams. The Army certainly functioning like a well-oiled machine. And Douglas, the catalyst, VCU by 3. Looking for more great content from schools like Clemson, the national college football champs, and some of the top-ranked schools in college hoops? Follow at the ACCDN on Twitter and subscribe to the ACC Digital Network on YouTube. Now, what is a jam-packed week in the Atlantic 10, and VCU off to a 3-point lead, Coach?
This basket here is legitimately a weight room basket. Douglas has put on 20 pounds of muscle in VCU's strength and conditioning program since his arrival. These kids train year-round, and it shows up on plays like that. And I'm a big fan of VCU's strength and conditioning program. Everything's individual-based. You have a guy like Douglas who's put on 20 pounds. Santos Silva has lost 42 pounds since he got there. So they make the certain guys that need to get stronger, they address that. If you need to cut up like Silva does, Santos Silva, they accomplish that. A lot of their success here this season was earned last summer.
And Mike Rhodes talked about going old school, things like running and sweating out in the heat.
Well, he thought they needed to get tougher, so he had them on the track a lot, and he thought their half-court defense needed to get better, so they focused on that. Mission accomplished on both ends.
Douglas only a 48% foul shooter. Hartwell still yet to get a make. Now he has a turnover. You always wonder, Coach, about emotion on senior night. Hartwell was only a freshman, but there seems like there's a carryover to everybody because there's sometimes so much pressure to win.
In my experience, it's usually positive, but I've seen it be too much pressure on guys sometimes. I think Livingston's key for every game for George Mason. Today, more so with senior day. Let's see how he responds. So far, it looks like he's been poised and under control.
He and Evans, the matchup. Shot clock at 7. Drew in the double. Williams with it winded down. Almost got the finish. Douglas couldn't come up with it. The atmosphere, everything we could have expected. Green trying to force the issue, but Clinched somehow finds him. Shot clock inside 10. Right idea, but the turnover for Mason. And now the Patriots' fifth. Contact and an offensive foul on Williams.
Good defense on both ends. The freshman Hartwell coming up big with the charge. He's got a bigger player driving at him, but he takes the contact for his team. So Hartwell and Miller are wonderful stories. No one thought these two guys would be huge parts of the team heading into March, but Boyd, you see the tape on his wrist. He's not himself. You have Jair Grayer out for the year, Gona Mar out for the year, but this is still a good team. Credit George Mason's recruiting. Freshmen deep on the bench that could play in a game like this.
Well, so far, an offensive display, it hasn't been. 6 combined field goals, 10 turnovers here in our first almost 10 minutes.
Well,
nearly another one.
You tell me anything easy offensively in this game, and I'll be surprised.
Green, nice extra pass. Kyer capitalizes. Second tie of the basketball game. Michael Gilmore, who had a big first game. First time these two met. Sims getting a look, now 0 for 2 from the perimeter.
If VCU has a weakness, it's that they're not a great three-point shooting team. Mason wants to take away the twos.
They come up with another turnover, 6th one for the Patriots. P.J. Bird, the backup point off the bench, threw it away. Livingston not there, and Miller will go to the line.
Miller's a terrific offensive rebounder, and terrific offensive rebounders expect every shot's going to be a miss. There's the steal by Green, and right now Miller's thinking he's going to miss. Of course, he hopes his teammates make it, but you can't get rebounds unless you go for them. Guys like Miller go for them all. They anticipate a miss every time. That's why they make the effort, and that's why they get the rebounds.
A.J. Wilson in for the first time for George Mason. Isaac Van returns for VCU. Jordan Miller, part of the reason that George Mason does, in fact, have double-digit conference wins despite their injuries. Played his high school basketball about a half hour away, but after the injury to Gona Mar, conversation with Dave Paulson to end his red shirt. And it certainly helped. Gilmore with the shot clock cut in half. Crowfield, who had the big game in the loss to Richmond. Or rather the win. Contact and offensive foul Van.
What a terrific job defensively by both teams. Green with the charge on that play. And Green throughout this year has been, that's Kyer. Taking the charge right outside of the circle. Defensive clinic in this game. Defense is winning the day. And I don't fault the offense. These teams are making everything difficult on the offensive end.
This feels like a high school basketball game with stall ball. First one to 40 wins.
I just don't think you can get open shots, much less open passes. I'm concerned about Mason's turnover total escalating, though. We know what that number 15 means, 1 and 9.
Mobley wanted the pick and pop, but lost the basketball. And the arrow over to the Patriots.
Diving on the floor, fighting, scrapping. Love the effort. I take as much pleasure in a close defensive battle as in a high-scoring offensive battle. You just have to appreciate the effort, the sacrifice, giving up your body on charges, the teamwork, the rotations. George Mason's defense has been at a high level. We knew VCU's would be.
Malik Crowfield sitting down, 15 combined turnovers. And only 7 of 30 from the field. That's how you get 10-8 in the first almost 12 minutes of this. Shot clock cut in half for Miller.
But you look, they're moving without the ball. They're sharing the ball. They're just going up against one of the nation's top defenses.
Recognizing Green. And Mobley with a nice bat to get it to Van. A nice unselfish play for Jenkins, who didn't have numbers.
A hidden gem in this game is VCU has not been able to run. Mason is getting back on defense. If you don't notice their fast break, Mason's doing a good job.
Nice closeout from Kyer with the shot clock at 10. Gilmore, the body. And going down the other way. Now early on, the emotion of a rivalry game. Mason with the 2-point lead here on senior night. Now that score is not incorrect. George Mason by 2 with 7.5 minutes left here in this first half. You don't want to miss the best college basketball show on Facebook. Catch College Hoops Weekly, Wednesdays at 7:30 Eastern, where we preview the biggest matchups, take a look back at the top highlights of the week, and react to your questions and comments. You can catch College Hoops Weekly every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Facebook. Now, we talked about 15 turnovers being the magic number for George Mason. What about when VCU's turned it over 9 times, Coach, and can't buy a bucket?
Well, VCU knows they don't need to have a great offensive night to win. They know their defense can carry them. George Mason's transition defense really impressed me, as well as their charge taking. Multiple players giving up their bodies, but VCU sprints the floor. They want to run. Why have they not scored in transition? Because George Mason's getting back. They're prepared. Now here they are, prepared for the press break. It's a man-to-man press. Watch them get the ball in bounce. Again, try to keep the ball in the middle of the floor. Kyer, keep it in the middle so you could go right or left and read the floor. Oh, he's getting on the side. That's a problem.
Able to get out of it with Clinched. Livingston still scoreless. Kyer's had a good start. Got the extra step, that Euro. Shot clock does not reset. Livingston. And got the friendly bounce.
Clinched offensive rebound and effort gives Livingston that opportunity. Great effort, Clinched.
Largest lead thus far for Mason. Santos Silva almost threw it away.
And Clinched bodies up and keeps Santos Silva from backing him in. Doing a lot of things to help his team. He had a concussion. He was out recently. And his addition is a big plus for Mason.
Good recognition there for Santos Silva, but Mobley can't get the 3 to go. Jenkins off Bird's rebound. Van with a man's board. But out of bounds, couldn't hold on to it.
Remember, VCU only 30% on threes for the year. Probably the only area of the game where they're not outstanding. Nice contest, and now you just see a battle. That's just a battle. Bodies falling upon bodies. Van knows he fell. He knows there was contact. But to me, that's just a bunch of people going for the ball.
Earl Walton and this crew going to look at it. We'll go over to the monitor, veteran crew.
Well, the key thing they'll look for is a hook and hold. Let's see if someone might have got an arm underneath Van, because that would be a technical and a flagrant 1. In all that traffic and that massive humanity, that could have been possible. Here's the contact, 5 bodies. Maybe at the end.
You feel like maybe there's something there on Clinched at the end.
Maybe at the end.
And Justin Porterfield comes over, and that's exactly what they're thinking, Coach. They're looking for the hook and hold.
And it was subtle, and it was as he was going down.
What's a 7-0 run for Mason in the last 3.5 minutes? And that 4-point lead, the largest we've had tonight.
This is an important play here. Let's look at Clinchd's arm and Van's arm as he's falling. Did he pull him down?
Maybe a little bit. Although Earl Walton says no, nothing.
Not a hook and hold.
Nothing.
tell you what, they have the toughest job in the building. The players and coaches have a super tough job. The officials' job is, I think, almost impossible. When you have to look at these replays in slow motion 3-4 times, and they get it right most of the time on the first time in live action, I give them credit.
Have you been a proponent of the replay, Coach?
I like it. Get it right.
I agree. Kyer running the break. There's Clinched.
Mason wants to score early or late. If they trap, they want to attack him, punish him for pressing. That was a diamond in one press, and they punish him for going to it.
And a new largest lead. Evans yet to get going. Could say that about the entire Ram roster. Santos Silva, the nice up and under, but good post D for Clinched.
Santos Silva is strong. He'll back you down. Clinched held his ground, made him take a tough shot. Clinched having a terrific game.
And that's off Livingston, out of bounds. Good hands for Evans.
Remember, Reuter is the starter, but he's been battling hip soreness. And when he's battling his hip soreness and Clinched had that concussion, well, that's why they go 3-8, because they're not 100%. But A.J. Wilson giving them good minutes today, their third center.
Santos Silva, there's Wilson. And the sophomore from Taunton, Massachusetts, will head to the line.
Santos Silva a little too strong. You see, he tries to get on the side, but Santos Silva too wide. And a block, but some arm in addition to the ball. Interesting fact on A.J. Wilson, young developing big guy, wiry, needs to get stronger, but per 40 minutes, he's one of the best shot blockers in the A-10. If he's in there, he's going to block some shots or make some win-miss. He's a bit of an unsung hero for this team. Had a huge role in an overtime win at UMass off the bench, just like he's doing today.
1 of 2 for Santos Silva, only 57% on the year. Boyd surveying this havoc for VCU.
Ball in the middle of the court, and they handle it.
But it does disrupt the shot clock, takes half the possession. Miller finishing.
And they were thinking of redshirting him. These guys can recruit when he's their 10th guy on the bench and he can do what he's doing after injuries. What a job of building depth at George Mason.
11-1 Mason run. And Van lost it out of bounds. That's 10 first-half turnovers for Mike Rhodes' guys.
This is uncharacteristic, not only getting beat off the dribble, but you see Evans there late with the help. VCU's almost always there protecting that block, ready to take a charge. They're elite, but they're not perfect.
Jenkins trying to force Green to the sideline.
George Mason now is settling in their half-court offense. The havoc is not affecting them.
Reuter, quick hands though. He spoke too soon, Coach.
I spoke way too soon.
Van, finish.
And that's what they do. Create turnovers, score in transition. I spoke too soon, Matt. You're absolutely right.
First bucket for Isaac Van. Now the 6 different Ram to score, but still down 5. They get it again from Reuter. Van setting up Evans. 5-0 run.
VCU Havoc basketball right there. Turnovers and running.
Timeout for Dave Paulson and the Patriots. And just like that, the depth, the quickness. 5 points in 21 seconds for the VCU Rams. And we're down to a 2-point game. Williams running it out. And Van closing the deal. And then setting it up. Evans knows what to do. A couple Mason turnovers leading to 5 VCU points. Down to what's a 2-point basketball game. Matt Martucci, Dr. John Giannini. And what is a potentially historic night for the Rams. Looking for their first outright conference title. And you think about the type of success that they've had. A 73% winning percentage since coming into the league, but never an outright title. Almost mind-boggling.
Well, you're talking over the years, the 7th best conference in the country, 14 teams. Being number one, the outright champion, awfully difficult to do. That's a huge accomplishment that they could enjoy the rest of their lives. But right now, they just want to keep their winning streak going. Go from 10 to 11 heading into the postseason.
They get a good trap in the backcourt on Kyer. And now has to race over the midline, but plenty comfortable.
Score early or score late. If they press, attack, Mason executing the game plan.
And that's the response they were looking for out of the timeout. What's the game high 7 for Kyer? Jenkins, recognition. Still can't find his shot. And good hustle that time. Miller kept it alive to get it to Kyer.
Both times VCU went to the zone press. They're diamond and one. Mason scored against it. They're better off with their man-to-man so far.
Clinched. Able to get the separation. Lost out of bounds. And stays down at this end. Shot clock at 10.
There's the trap. Advance it up the floor. Now you have numbers. And Kyer has the talent and the freedom to finish. Beat the press, get numbers, get to the rim.
Livingston with the shot clock winded down. And nearly got the bounce on Evans. Just a 1-for-4 start for Otis Livingston on senior night. Van got it to the corner. Williams got bodied by Miller.
It's a terrific freshman matchup. Douglas and Miller.
Santos Silva, the recognition. Williams can't connect on the three. But Jenkins off an excellent feed.
Yeah, these rebounders, Santos Silva, Clinched, they're taking care of these guards, giving them these extra shots. Sometimes it's not execution, it's effort that wins.
Livingston with the control. After that possession, looked like it might go out awry. Kyer with a bad miss. Good recognition. Williams and got fouled at the rim. Going to be Kyer. A second personal.
I'm a little surprised George Mason double-teamed Santos Silva for this very reason. They've been stopping him one-on-one, but now you double-team him and you leave someone open. A little surprised by the double-team.
A little bit of foul trouble for the Patriots. Now this is an interesting 2 minutes because Kyer's been the most effective at breaking the pressure. 65% shooter for Williams. There goes Kyer. Sorry, Coach.
No, you're right. That's a significant loss here for 2 minutes. But 2 minutes against VCU, that could be a bunch of possessions. Hartwell, the freshman's going to have to assume some serious ball handling responsibilities.
Williams and Corey Douglas combined for all 6 of the bench points for VCU. And what do you know? 3 ties, 4 lead changes now. Mason trying to take it back. Jamal Hartwell, Javon Green, along with Miller. And then Livingston and A.J. Wilson. Bounce game for Miller and a foul. Front end of a 1-and-1 coming. We mentioned a busy week in the Atlantic 10. Dr. John and I on the road again. More A-10 basketball tomorrow night, 7 Eastern, with St. Bonaventure visiting Davidson on Stadium. The only 24/7 network on both TV and digital devices without a cable subscription. Stadium, welcome to the game. That's one of 3 senior nights or days that we're going to have this week, Coach. Looking forward to it.
2 great games tonight and tomorrow. We have the hottest team in the A-10, VCU, 10 straight wins. Tomorrow, we have the second hottest, St. Bonaventure, with 5 straight wins. And they both have treacherous road games against conference teams with double-digit wins. And George Mason and St. Bonaventure couldn't ask for better back-to-back games. Really young team out here with Mason.
Patriots able to break the tie.
2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a senior going up against one of the best teams in the country.
Evans off balance, but it doesn't matter.
He really was off balance on that one. Shows his athletic ability to make a shot, when you're basically falling down.
6 points for the Rice transfer, who came in with over 1,700 career. VCU back in front.
Yeah, it's their first lead. Mason would like to go in the locker room with momentum, but this young team now coughs it up to have it.
Crowfield getting the contact from Hartwell. And what did we talk about these last 2 minutes with Kyer on the bench?
And Matt, you also asked me, are they going to wear him down? And it's really hard to get not worn down against VCU. They keep rolling people in. They keep the pressure on. And here George Mason's played really well. And it would be a little deflating to go into the locker room down after leading most of the half and playing your heart out defensively. But they're playing one of the better teams in the country in VCU.
More than 21 bench points per contest. They almost double up their opponents in that category. They outscore them by almost 8 a game.
So Coach Rhodes has rightly convinced VCU that if we outwork people, we'll win. If we play 11 guys and all 11 guys give maximum effort, we'll wear people down. And we'll get credit from winning. Don't worry about your stats. You'll get credit from winning. And right now, they're an NCAA tournament level team, and that's where you get respect as a player and as a team.
They're on a 14-4 run and have matched their largest lead after the pair of free throws for Crowfield. Inside of a minute here in our opening 20 in Fairfax. Miller got to the cup and drew the contact.
Really important, when they run a pick and roll, VCU almost traps that pick and roll. They're trying to get the ball out of their hands as soon as possible. There you see the double team, get rid of the ball. And then you have numbers. When they double team that pick and roll, the rest of the floor, if you can get rid of the ball, you have a 4-on-3 and you could attack the rim. So they're not running. Livingston's not running the pick and roll to make a play. He's almost a decoy here, drawing the double team, get the ball out of his hands. Now you have 4-on-3 numbers, and you're at the free throw line.
1 of 2 for Miller. He's been their leading scorer this half. He had Kyer 7 apiece.
Let's see if VCU goes 2 for 1 here. They got to go quick, try to get a shot around 40. And they do.
And Evans wastes no time. Took him just a few seconds. Now 8 for Marcus Evans.
I think 2 for 1 is so smart. I'm surprised more people don't do it. Everyone in the NBA does it. VCU does it. They knew exactly what they had to do.
9 seconds of change worth a differential shot in game clock. Livingston got the double. Miller, after Hartwell, got it on the rim. And they do get the 2 for 1 opportunity. Evans with 5 seconds. Yes, sir! Cold-blooded. What a response.
Coaches have described Evans to me in many ways, but one of them is a closer. They're usually talking about closing out the game with big plays. Here he closed out the half with a few huge plays, giving his team the lead. He is a finisher, closer, winner.
How about what's a 19-5 run to end the half on a surefire all-A-10 selections 3. VCU up 7. Stats highlights, plenty more coming from Eagle Bank Arena. Lead for the top team in this Atlantic 10, VCU. And we welcome you courtside, everybody. Matt Martucci, the former LaSalle head coach, Dr. John Giannini. Mason was in great shape up until a last 2 minutes of change of that first half. Justin Kyer goes to the bench, and the Patriots haven't been right since. Big run for VCU.
You saw it. You questioned it. Are they going to be okay? And no, they weren't okay. VCU goes on the run afterwards. If I was Coach Paulson, I'm up. It's only 2 minutes. My best player has 2 fouls. I'd probably sit him. If he had to do it over again, he might have done it differently.
Not only your best player tonight, but the guy who's done the best job of breaking the pressure in the first half.
Yeah, Kyer, once they got the ball across half court and had numbers, he was in attack mode. He was the guy who had the best offensive success against this tremendous VCU defense. But Evans One coach called him, as I said earlier, the closer. He closes out games. He makes shots. He makes decisions. In that big run in the last 2 minutes, Evans made the big plays, including the dagger there at the buzzer.
Our first half stats. It was ugly early on with a combined 21 turnovers. And neither team shooting the ball particularly well. 10 of 31 for VCU, 7 of 22 for George Mason. But what you don't see there, Coach, the bench points for the Rams. 8 of them again in the first half, a big difference.
Yeah, we mentioned VCU's bench outscores their opponents by over 8 a game. George Mason, terrific defense. 32% from the field, holding VCU down, going tooth and nail with one of the best defensive teams in the country, but down at the half.
Patriots trying to match the energy of the Green Machine. Second half coming up. Start the second half with a 7-point lead for Mike Rhodes and the VCU Rams. A team that's won 10 straight, including 5 of them on the road. Matt Martucci, Dr. John Giannini. And there's the pride of Mahanoy Area High School. They don't make them tough like that anymore, Coach. Northeast Pennsylvania, coal region tough.
He is that. He'll probably be happy to tell you, too. And his team reflects it. He had him out on the track in the heat this summer, working on getting in phenomenal shape and developing mental toughness. And in the gym, it was all defense, and it's showing here in this 10-game winning streak.
It's their ball to start the second half. Yeah, only UVA and Houston are more defensively efficient than the Rams.
They are an elite defensive team, and somehow George Mason here has to really limit their turnovers this half. I'm talking 4 or 5 for the half.
Santos Silva, good position to start the second half. After the Rams closed that opening 20 on a 19-5 run, Marcus Evans a perfect 4 for 4. This time executing the double, and they get the turnover.
Has to get it out of his hands quickly. Remember, you're a decoy on the pick and roll. Can't hold it.
Mobley, secondary break. And Kyer had Livingston streaking, just didn't get him up the floor fast enough. Miller loses it out of bounds. And already back-to-back turnovers for Mason to start the second half. 14 now on the game.
I was calling for 4 or 5 for the half, and here they have 2, 45 seconds in. They won't be able to win that way.
Evans and Santos Silva. And the big first half for Evans. Lost the basketball. Green trying to go up for the dunk. And Van transition off the big miss. Jenkins sniping. Still can't hit. Now 0 for 4 from the arc.
VCU can fill it up, but more often or not, they're a 30% three-point shooting team. Mason doing a good job defensively. It's keeping them in the game.
Reuter had shuffled his feet. He's had a tough night. Only played 7 minutes, 2 fouls, and now 3 turnovers for Jared Reuter.
Remember, 1-9 when they have 15 turnovers or more. They're going to have to hope that today's the exception, and there's always exceptions.
Jenkins matched up with Green. Drew in the double. Santos Silva.
Green was not disciplined on that play. He went for a steal, but didn't get it, which created a 2-on-1 for Jenkins and an easy assist. If you're going to gamble, you better win.
New largest lead for VCU. Kyer was able to finish those in the first half. Miller cleaning it up.
Miller could play with Steph Curry and think every shot's going to be a miss. That's his mentality. That's why he gets those shots. If you're going in for a layup, he's still thinking you're going to miss. And if you do, he's there to clean it up.
Team high 9 for him for Mason. Evans with a miss. So now 4 for his last 5. Rams did have their largest lead. Livingston. Miller couldn't get the finish. Stays with it.
Miller hunts high percentage shots. That's why he shoots in the 60s. He's not looking to take tough ones. He's looking to cut and get offensive rebounds. You see, when there's penetration, Miller is hunting a 2. He's not hunting 3s. He's hunting 2s. That's why he's shooting 62% in the league. Efficiency wins. Miller doing his part.
In double figures now for what's the 9th time this year. His debut was at Rhode Island at a double-double at the first meeting against these Rams. VCU shot clock at 8. Evans, beautiful find. Santos Silva, a second field goal.
That time George Mason double teaming the pick and roll. But like a quarterback against the blitz, Evans finds the open man against pressure in his face.
First assist of the night for Marcus Evans, 4th for VCU. 2 of them have come in this half. Kyer off the handoff, hands from behind, 3-on-1, make it 4-on-1 for the Rams. Jenkins, Evans, and Santos Silva.
Santos Silva can really run. He's lost the weight, ran a 5.23 mile this summer. Unbelievable. And
6 of his 7 points, coach, in this second half. But we get a foul on VCU.
Two things about this basket. First, the characteristic pressure, hands all over, turnover. And then you see 4 black shirts at the rim to only 1 George Mason jersey. That is conditioning, depth, and being fresh.
Talked about 15 being the magic number, coach. 1 and 9, 15 or more.
Today has to be the exception.
Down by 9, but they're right there. That was their 15th. The last one. Clinched. And still fighting for it, Green. We get the arrow. It'll stay at this end.
So it's interesting. In their strength and conditioning program, they talk about functional strength. There's not a lot of, besides Santos Silva, football-type bodies out there, but they're so physical, really hard to get to the rim against them. They body up, don't let you get the easy ones.
Five to shoot for George Mason. And we get a hold before the inbounds. Now going Crowfield. Now Mason led by as many as 7 in the first half. But VCU with the big run to close, led by 7 at the break, now up 9. On the throwback to Clinched, drawing in the double. Livingston. Tough shooting night continues. 1 of his first 5. Mobley the extra pass at Crowfield. Some hesitation from Bird. Bird the flash and well off the mark.
Mason's defense is keeping them in this game. They just have to find some rhythm on the offensive end.
Hartwell lost it out of bounds. It'll go back over to VCU. More contributions continue for the Rams. This time it's the big guy, Santos Silva. Worked on the body in the offseason. It shows tonight. On top of George Mason. The Patriots back in action Saturday at 2 o'clock. Our moment of the game, George Mason's senior night. As it was 4 different ones. Otis Livingston, Jair Grayer, and then the 2 walk-ons, Nick DiClemente and Logan Samuels. And if you recognize Jair Grayer's father, that's former Milwaukee Buck Jeff Grayer, coach.
Great player. And Grayer and Livingston leave 1,000-point scores and with much well-deserved recognition. But the walk-ons, Logan Samuels and Nick DiClemente, are the kind of players that I love. They're givers. They didn't get the attention. They didn't get the scholarships, but they just show up and work as hard as anyone every day. I always said if the world were walk-ons and managers, it would be a better place. Much respect to Logan Samuels and Nick DiClemente for what they've given to this program.
Trying to get a win for him on senior night. Matt Martucci, the former LaSalle head coach, Dr. John Giannini. Still not a ton of offense this second half, only 10 combined points. Crowfield trying to change that. His first 3 of the night.
So George Mason's attacking ball screens. Again, get it out of your hands. Bird got the ball right out of his hands to find the open man on the throwback. Great read by Bird on the pick and roll against the double.
Livingston lost the basketball, and Bird able to capitalize. And VCU with the new largest lead, but Livingston shaken up.
Yeah, it looks like his ankle. He's so tough. Matt, we've seen him go through this before and come back in the game. The question is, will he be 100%? But there's no question that he's going to will himself back out there. But that's a significant loss for George Mason. And coming off the VCU run and that latest three creates a heck of a challenge for the Patriots.
Bird just became the 9th different Ram to score, by the way.
Terrific depth. And they believe that's the way for them to win. That's their defense.
9-0 run after the block shot. Jenkins make it 11-0. And the route may be on.
It's interesting to see what Coach Paulson's going to do here if he's going to take the timeout. There he goes.
And what's a tough last few minutes now for the home team. An over 3-minute scoring drought for George Mason. VCU well in command on Stadium. The Stadium original documentary, Pooh, chronicles Derrick Rose's fight for his family at a very young age. Then becoming the NBA's youngest MVP, countless injuries, and being told he's not wanted in his own hometown. Tune into Stadium on April 11th for the premiere of Pooh. Stadium, welcome to the game. Well, big-time run, 11-0 for VCU in the last 2:48, Coach.
And it's a bunch of people contributing to use their language. Their VCU basketball army is invading Eagle Bank Arena. They call themselves soldiers, soldiers who volunteer for defensive duty. Those might sound like catchy phrases, but they believe it, they live it. When they go in, they expect to be in for 3 or 4 minutes to give their all, and to get a 5th or 6th minute, they have to take it to the highest level possible. They got to fight to stay on this court, and it wears people down.
32-9 run, what they're on since they trailed by 7. That was when it was 16-9, George Mason.
Imagine how hard you would play if you knew you only had a few minutes, and if you did a great job, you might earn another couple minutes.
Kyer going across his body. Not the shot they were looking for.
It's the VCU way. Make everything tough, create havoc, maximum effort from a multitude of people, 11 deep.
And we wondered, would they be able to withstand the depth? At least so far, that question's been answered. Tough entry for Williams. Douglas got it taken away.
Nice job by A.J. Wilson again.
And a foul on Jenkins.
So, remember, Livingston just went out with an ankle injury. Grayer, 6'5" athlete out for the year. Going on Mars, 6'7" athlete out for the year. They had the kind of depth to play this team. Luck just doesn't make it possible under these circumstances.
Over the shoulder to Wilson off the inbounds. And Hartwell maybe selling the contact on Bird.
George Mason has a real tall task ahead of them, but VCU plays so fast, there's going to be a lot of possessions left in this game, either for a blowout or for George Mason to come back. But this is not going to be a slow tempo.
Wilson wanted the dunk. And he took some hard contact, still down. Jenkins wide open. And Dave Paulson looking at A.J. Desai, wondering why they didn't stop the game.
They really can't stop it if the other team has possession, but I'm curious if they'll look at this video to see if there's a forearm or contact to the head that would be a flagrant one. I'm sure that's what Coach Paulson's arguing for. Nice fake handoff, drew the help, and he comes down.
I don't think so, Coach.
Yeah, I don't know if he got, it looks like he missed his face, and actually probably had more of the contact against the backdrop.
I don't think there's any contact from Douglas there. I think he's going for the block shot and misses.
Well, even if he goes for the block shot, if you get the head, it's a flagrant one. But you see him holding his back. It looks like the pain he has is from the fall and not from the block shot by Douglas. So I don't think the officials will end up doing anything about this. Great fake handoff. He contests the shot, just misses the dunk, but comes down really hard.
It's been a year that has been continued to be plagued by injuries. Dave Paulson said at one point depth was our strongest attribute. Not anymore.
For George Mason to have double-digit wins with that roster situation, again, is a testament to the coaching and recruiting. That they have guys like Miller and Hartwell deep on the bench to contribute the way they have. Very impressive.
Kyer. And contact.
The other issue with Livingston, you can bring him back, but you have a key game later this week to still maybe get a top 4 seed and the conference tournament. You might want to be conservative for the long term with Livingston.
Yeah, I mean, especially because...
but they're not. Here he comes.
Yeah, coming to the scorer's table after Calix draws the contact. Was just about to say, Coach, though, especially because we have one of those games that's going to determine it. St. Bonaventure going to Davidson, one of the teams ahead of Mason in the standings.
You know, I said when Livingston went down that he would will himself back out there, but if he's not effective, I would err on the side of caution, be conservative, make sure you have him as strong as possible for the conference tournament and the season finale.
And going down.
Looks like Reuter on the handoff turned his hips, made it into a moving screen.
Now they said Kyer was on the sideline, Coach.
Have to be aware of that sideline.
That's the 18th Mason turnover. Crowfield trying to push it further. VCU has opened this up and then some.
Terrific example of Crowfield. Not one of VCU's top scorers, but making a big basket, part of the Army, one of the soldiers, was actually their best player in their win this weekend against Richmond. Dropped 15.
19-0 VCU run. Douglas Stanley, who's missed the last 2 games with a miss. Jenkins! And now this is just out of hand.
Livingston's going to want to stay in the game. I would want his ankle in an ice bucket because George Mason still has a lot to play for.
Reuter lost it out of bounds. We talked about how fast VCU can get out. It was a 9-0 run at the end of the first half. Another big one for the Rams, capped off by Jenkins. Now 19-0 and up 24. Our fan of the game tonight here on Stadium. I feel like the 2-2 is in season. Look what they learned to do in college, Coach.
Best 4 years of your life.
VCU well in the driver's seat to its first outright title since joining the A-10. And you look at where George Mason is, but certainly still alive, although St. Louis nipping at the heels. They'll play Duquesne tomorrow night, Coach, at St. Bonaventure at Davidson.
Well, St. Bonaventure has a tough game at Davidson. Duquesne has a tough game at St. Louis. George Mason still in contention in spite of today's results for that 4th spot. That's why making sure Livingston gets healthy is so critical. And we see Hartwell in for Livingston now, probably thinking long term by Coach Paulson.
Inside 12 minutes. Nice cut for Douglas, got stripped out of bounds.
You see Ian Boyd's energy. He's literally playing with one arm out there. That is a tough guy, and I would put him almost in with the list of losses along with Grayer and Marr because he's clearly not his normal self. But you see his will. He's going to do everything he can while he's out there.
Extra pass. And trying to set it up for Douglas again.
Yeah, he's a tough guy, Boyd, playing with that wrist, and you'll see him grimace at time. And remember, I think Reuter has some chronic hip issues with stiffness and pain as well. These guys are gutting through it.
Douglas.
That fake handoff is a tricky play. You see Reuter expected the handoff and got ready to help, and it's like the quarterback option. You just fake it and go the other way for the bucket.
Now a 21-0 run. Green got stripped by Williams. Rams 62.5% shooting this second half. 10 of 16. They forced 8 Mason turnovers. What a find. Williams to Douglas. Too easy.
Terrific high-low. Really hard to guard. Perfectly executed. George Mason's a good help defensive team, but on the high-low, there's no help side. Ball's in the middle. Isolate the post.
Kyer and Reuter along with Hartwell. Mason only 4 second-half points. Kyer got caught up, threw it away. And Sims almost had the steal. Now one more coming up, senior night for the Rams. That'll be a matchup of the Martellis. Phil, the head coach for St. Joe's. Jimmy, the director of basketball ops. And then we're right into Brooklyn next Wednesday. A couple of games in the opening round on Wednesday. And shot clock violation.
I was excited to see VCU today. They certainly haven't disappointed. They look like an elite team because of their defense and depth. I can't wait to see what this team does moving forward, especially in the NCAA tournament.
And we get a foul. It's going to go against Hartwell. At the midway point of the second half, Crowfield. Already 8 off the bench for him, just couldn't convert that time. Kyer, high on the rim and fouled. George Mason back in action Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern. You can catch their game against George Washington on Stadium, the only 24/7 network on both TV and digital devices without a cable subscription. Again, George Mason, GW, Saturday, 2 p.m. right here on Stadium. Welcome to the game.
And I expect that top 4 finish, especially that 4th stop, to still be up for grabs going into that last game. That'll be a critical game for George Mason. How critical is that? Well, only 2 teams in A10 history have won 4 games and finished outside of the top 4 to get the automatic berth to the NCAA tournament.
How bad is the Mason scoring drought? Over 8 minutes. And we get a push off on Gilmore. Now, this is one of 2 games in the A10 tonight. St. Joseph's and Rhode Island have now gone to overtime after Fats Russell hitting a game-tying 3 with inside 10 seconds left. So Rhode Island trying to win back-to-back overtime games and prove that the Rams have maybe righted their ship.
They're a talented team. Fats Russell played his best game of the year in that overtime win at Dayton, and he had a great game at LaSalle in Philly. He likes the homecoming. Being a Philadelphia native from Imhotep High School, as good as VCU is, you know, Rhode Island, certainly Davidson has already beaten them. Dayton is certainly a team that can not only get to the NCAA tournament, but win there. So VCU still a lot of work ahead of them, but they're in great shape for an at-large bid as well.
Gilmore, too much on the 3-point attempt. Sims, the offensive glass. Should also add in that St. Joe's game, Charlie Brown has fouled out Foul this end. Green going to the line.
George Mason was so well prepared coming into this game. At the 18-minute mark, had the lead, playing terrific defense, holding VCU in the 30s, knew what they were doing against the press. But Kyer gets foul trouble, Livingston goes down, and it's just a tipping point. When you combine those two situations with the people that are already up for the year or not 100%, it's just too much for them to overcome against an elite defensive opponent like this.
Green ends what's an 8.5-minute scoring drought. And Van strike a pose. Only his second field goal of the night, but he made it count.
And they don't care. They're just playing hard, playing to win, and they know that's how they're going to get their respect.
Green left it up on the glass.
And George Mason, there's Van getting out, showing his athleticism, really bringing the ball back and throwing it down and posing. And this is a team that has fun. They really don't showboat because they play hard, they run, they dunk, they finish, and they're going to enjoy themselves. And that fuels their motivation. To be good at something, you have to love it. And this team loves defending and running. That's one of the biggest reasons for their success.
Sims, excellent setup. Gilmore, back-to-back flushes.
How about Gilmore being your 10th or 11th man, a 6'10", 6'11", athletic three-point shooter? That's why VCU can play with anyone in the country and make a run in this NCAA tournament.
Everybody but Michael Sims, who's been on the floor for VCU, has scored 10 of their 11.
Here's what's going to be tough for George Mason. There's no slowing down for VCU. There's only one way they play. It's going to continue to be tough.
Hartwell. It's only 9 second-half points now for the Patriots. Evans trying to match. Douglas Stanley and Hartwell, Wilson, along with Green and Miller. Gilmore and Williams, Sims, Evans, and Van for VCU. Rise up for Wilson.
I'm a big fan of Wilson's future and upside. He keeps battling. He's a good defender. Just needs to get stronger and continue to be coachable and get experience.
Sims trying to get into that scoring column. Hartwell. Second missed dunk attempt for Wilson. And timeout on the floor with VCU. Rim protected one end, finishes at the other. Up big. Haven't sampled it yet, you should check out Stadium's Monday through Friday programming lineup. The day starts at 10 Eastern. It's our morning show, The Territory, taking you through the biggest stories in sports all over the country. And then Sauce and Tram moves up 3 hours, airs at noon. A new high school show, Emerge, at 2 o'clock Eastern. Campus Insiders back half an hour to 2:30. And wrapping up the day, setting you up for the night in sports with the Rally. Game time in America at 6 o'clock. Stadium, it's a new way to watch sports. Welcome to the game. Well, from the last 2 minutes up until now, dominance for VCU in what has been an impressive resume since joining the Atlantic 10. This would more than get you a job. These are CEO type of attributes, Coach.
The reason for this is they're all in. They were all in this summer. In terms of their track work, defensive work, they're all in with their unselfishness and defense. The university's all in. Their Champion Center practice facility, one of the best in the country. And, of course, for years, from Anthony Grant to Shaka Smart to Will Wade, you know, a lot of people have built this program up. Great fan base, hundreds of consecutive sellouts. This is an elite program. There's a reason for the on-the-court winning. and it's a commitment from a lot of people over a lot of years.
And a team that was picked 7th in the A-10 preseason poll. That's why you don't pay attention to that stuff.
You know, I hated Media Day for that very reason. Those preseason polls aren't worth the paper that they're printed in, but there's no games yet. There's got to be something to talk about. So you're upset if you're picked low. You're upset if you picked high because you're afraid your players will believe it. Media Day, not a favorite for coaches.
Kyer. And out of bounds. Off of, and A.J. Wilson picks up the foul. So third one now on Wilson. Overall for VCU would be a 24th win. More than what they've ever had under Mike Rhodes.
If you gamble, you better win. A.J. Wilson gambled for the steal. It's the second time we've seen a gambled steal loss. Evans wins his gamble.
Just can't finish. And doesn't matter. Van and Evans able to finally finish the play. 13 now. Actually his first points since the end of the first half. And foul on the rebound.
So I cannot find an aspect of defense that VCU is not good at. That's a heck of a compliment. They'll block shots, they'll take charges, they pressure, they help, they're full court, they're half court. But the way they contest three-point shots is astounding. Like, people just miss threes at an elite level. They consistently hold people in the 20s, and you just can't get an open look against these guys. It's going to take an extremely talented team, and I'm talking Duke, multiple NBA-level players to be able to beat this team with some one-on-one talent and be able to create some shots for some other people, because I don't know if talent short of that can have success against this defense.
Teaching moment for Mike Rhodes with Michael Gilmore, the 5th year. And a guy who basically is the epitome of unselfishness. Van. Most of his damage done in the second half. 7 now for him. And doubling up George Mason now with a 35-point second half.
And this truly is not running up the score, because VCU knows no other way to play than to play great defense and pick up full court.
And correction, not quite doubling up. Our math's off by a point. Kyer. And Santos Silva with the save. The balance of VCU's seen tonight. Nobody with more than 13 points, led by Evans. One-on-one, Santos Silva gets the friendly roll.
Another fake handoff. Dribble at the guard like you're going to hand it off. Get your man to anticipate help and turn the corner.
So 8 of his points coming this half, 9 overall for Santos Silva.
You have to be good and lucky. VCU might be great and lucky, but George Mason certainly unlucky with their health situations.
Kyer well outside. Jenkins couldn't corral the rebound. And that's about the only thing that's gone wrong for VCU in this second half. Tough night for Dave Paulson and the Patriots on senior night. Rams in the driver's seat. VCU with its largest lead of the basketball game, blowout fashion for the Rams. It started late in the first half. Our play of the game, Coach.
Forced turnover, and then the versatility of this team. Van, the wing, getting the assist to the point guard, Evans. We expect the steals, but Van showing the point guard skills and Evans showing off his shooting skills. These guys can all do a little bit of something offensively, but defensively, they just overwhelm you. So impressive. And we predicted this in our opening. And it wasn't hard. They've done this all year. Statistically, they're elite, and you see why on the defensive end.
Inbounds to Reuter. And basically able to get into perfect position. Santos Silva fell down. It's the VCU team almost assured of an at-large bid. Mobley there with now 3.5 left. Hartwell trying to use the window and nothing there. What will be the 9th win in the last 11 tries of this series. Season series sweep coming. In a good week to beat in-state rivals for the Rams.
Nice defensive possession by George Mason. They're playing hard to the end, just as you would expect them to.
Boyd with some awkward rotation, clear that wrist bothering him. And the miss for Keyshawn Curry, foul on the rebound. And Justin Kier, mentioned it, kind of struggled career. Against VCU, only averaged about 4 points a game in 6 contests. Had a good first half, but then went out that final 2 minutes with 2 personal fouls. Never really the same. And Evans, most of his damage done in the first half, Coach.
Yeah, 0 second-point baskets by Kier. Credit VCU's defense. Evans just takes what the game gives him. He doesn't care if he gets 30 points or 2 points. He's going to play the game right way. That makes him pretty special.
Bird and Sims. Michael Sims about the only one that's had a tough time. He's 0 for 5 tonight.
Looking for number 11, Keyshawn Curry, to do something. He doesn't play much. He'd be their 12th man for VCU. But Coach Rhodes thinks he has elite potential. He compared him to Troy Daniels, who's with the Phoenix Suns right now.
Yeah, this is usually the spot where they would put him in, that they have a cushion and a chance to get him some minutes. Marcus Evans had the big first half. 13 now puts him up to 1,767 career points. Most of those, over 1,300 of them, coming at Rice, but has done plenty of damage this year.
So he's had 2 Achilles surgeries, one of the most significant injuries a basketball player can have. He has not been able to play basketball in the offseason the last 2.5 years, and here he is, a likely Player of the Year candidate. Coach Rhodes says he's not as explosive as he was. He thinks with a season of off-season strength and conditioning and not rehab, he can get that back. Imagine a better version of Marcus Evans. We might see it next year.
Yeah, hard to even fathom that there is another year with what is a very young team for VCU. Only 2 seniors on the entire roster for Mike Rhodes. Was trying to make a 6th postseason appearance as a head coach.
Doing an amazing job, obviously. A Division III background. Started out as a Division III head coach at Randolph-Macon, just as Coach Paulson started out winning a national championship at Williams. Of course, I started my career at Division III, Rowan as a head coach.
And Otis Livingston getting a curtain call. Well deserved.
An all-time George Mason great, has started more games than anyone in George Mason history. Much love there from Coach Paulson. He wishes it was under better circumstances. You see the emotions. And I feel him with him because I know what that player, Otis Livingston, has done over 4 years. Spring, summer, and fall, preparing himself College basketball is special, and you see it on senior night.
Getting a hug from assistant coach Dane Fisher. 1,833 career points for Otis Livingston, but only 2 tonight on senior night. And what ended up being what was a tough night, 1 for 5 from the field. And we saw a battle again, what was an ailing foot.
Yeah, he wasn't 100%, but he was going to force himself to play. They wisely limited him, thinking long-term. What a historic career. Only George Mason player to ever have 100 assists in all 4 years. One of only 8 players nationally to have 1,800 points, 400 assists, and 300 rebounds. A historic player. And he's still showing his emotions on the bench. But he has a lot left. He's got the game Saturday at George Washington, a top 4 seed to fight for in the A-10 tournament.
Jordan Miller and Douglas Stanley, who hadn't played the last couple games. Bird. And gets another bucket, but pretty much all academic from here on out. It brings me back, Coach, to something that I heard Mike Rhodes say at the end of their shoot-around today. Tonight is all about our process. Promise me that you won't lose focus.
They love playing defense. They like each other. Last game, Jenkins was telling Coach to leave Malik Crowfield in the game. Don't put me in. These guys are, because Malik is playing so well, this is an unselfish, together, talented, deep, special group that plays a unique style as well. With the great defensive pressure, the offensive running the court, and the freedom that they're given on the offensive run. But the price of that freedom is the defensive relentless intensity. If you give that up for Coach Rhodes, he'll give you the freedom on the offensive end.
Reuter, who's played only 16 minutes, held to 2 points. 26% shooting tonight for George Mason. And around the same where they were from the perimeter the first time around. Held to 2 for 18. Just a little bit better, but not much, if you can believe that. The Ram fans that have made the trip from Richmond. VCU leaving little doubt who the regular season champ is in this year's A-10. A 35-point blowout and a career-high 24 wins as a Division I head coach for Mike Rhodes. VCU, the Atlantic 10 regular season champion, now at 15-2 in conference play and 24-6 overall. The Ram train rolls on, 11 straight.
And one of the winningest programs in college basketball history gets their first Atlantic 10 outright championship, something that they'll be proud of for a lot of years. Very happy for Coach Rhodes, his staff, and this talented, unselfish team.
Our player of the game tonight here on Stadium, for the big run that basically changed this game at the end of the first half, Marcus Evans.
This is where the game was won. This was a 1-point George Mason lead with 2 minutes left, and Marcus Evans takes over. He shows why they call him the closer at the end of that half.
Matt Martucci, Dr. John Giannini, dominant fashion for VCU tonight. You take a look at the numbers, Coach. 26% shooting for George Mason, 22 turnovers. What's done it for the Rams all year long, once again, ends up winning them the regular season title.
George Mason wasn't 100%, but VCU did what you would expect an elite defensive team to do, especially against a wounded team. They were in attack mode. Dominant performance.
And they'll finish out Friday night with senior night. For my broadcast partner, Dr. John Giannini, producer Chris Cajaro, and our entire fantastic crew, Matt Martucci saying so long, scores, highlights, and more. Log on to watchstadium.com. We bid you good night from Fairfax, VCU, the regular season champ.